Senator Bob Menendez, he is fighting the federal corruption charges, and he says he is going to beat the rap. But it sure looks like he's losing the battle of popular opinion, and these numbers have changed from just a few weeks ago. A new Quinnipiac poll just out of New Jersey voters shows that 52% of respondents say he ought to resign, 54% saying he is neither honest or trustworthy. So the question is it possible for him to govern effectively? And this is obviously not just a hypothetical. We know this issue in New York. If you've lost the confidence of the public, I know that's a snap poll, but okay, can you both be under investigation, even under indictment, but still be an effective lawmaker? And do you make a distinction between being in a leadership position and being rank and file?
I do make a big distinction on that, and he stepped down from his leadership
Yes,
role,
he did.
And I think that was appropriate. I think it's a tough question, honestly, whether someone should step down, particularly if they feel that they feel there's no basis for the indictment, which I think he has made very clear. It's hard to say to someone, step aside just because some people presume you're guilty. I think it's a tough call, and I come down generally on the side of you're not required to step down. It will impair your ability to be effective. I think that's realistic. But
where's that line, Andrew, between, would it make a difference if it was 94% instead of 54%?
I don't think so, because he doesn't have to face voters again, and it's not like he's in an executive position where you would sort of need that personality to help drive other people to the positions that you want to have them take. I mean, he's one of 46 Democratic senators in the Senate, so he's not as effective as he was, but he certainly can still be effective.
Play along with me in the cynical thing. Let's say there's a vote, an upcoming vote here, stop for Loretta Lynch for confirmation,
yeah.
Right? And Senator Menendez, had a very contentious relationship with the administration, whether it be on Cuba, a whole host of issues. You could argue he could become a swing vote for that, and that his vote, with the very people that are doing the investigation, with the Justice Department, et cetera, it leads to certainly some parlor game, either conspiracy or certainly trying to do the math on certain things. To say that he's independent and he's not in leadership and he won't pick the agenda, all true, but he does vote. Mm-hmm. And if you vote and you're a tie-breaking vote on something that is obviously impacting the administration, their agenda, the same people investigating you, isn't that a conflict?
I mean, I think it is to a certain degree, and one would hope that he would recuse himself if that vote came about. But I think the Obama administration should be looking for one more vote to make sure that they're not reliant on Menendez to be that final vote. I mean, he's kind of inoculated because he's a legislator and not an executive, so he has the presumption of innocence.
Dominic, Shelley mentioned before, I think, meaning this person should stay if they firmly believe in their soul. I'll go to Congressman Grimm. He knew full well. Even when he was running for re-election.
They're going to stay no matter what.
I know, because it's their leverage.
They're going to stay. This point is useless. They're going to stay in office no matter what.
But my point is, should the choice be taken away from them? And should leadership be able to just have a standard policy and say, if you're under indictment, you're going to...
If you're leadership, you should go. If you're not leadership, as is the case now with Menendez, he has a right to stay. He's going to stay. The feds have a very good case against him. We hear the same broken record every time. I've done nothing wrong. And then the case comes, and then they either settle or they're convicted, and then they're removed.
Some of them are acquitted.
And a handful, and I mean a handful, are acquitted.
So with the death penalty, most people who are convicted and executed.
Wait, you're playing the race card?
It's not possible for an indictment to just automatically require an expulsion. That doesn't make any sense, because as we saw in the Bush administration, there were U.S. attorneys who were bringing prosecutions against candidates, and they weren't particularly grounded. It's too political an environment to force automatic expulsion.
Can I just say this? In the case of Hiram Montserrat, who was a senator, who was convicted of a misdemeanor, which was not an automatic expulsion.
Caught on video, so it wasn't
it wasn't an automatic expulsion because it was a misdemeanor. Yep. We brought a separate proceeding under the law to get rid of him as not fit for office. And I think that's the path you go down if somebody's conduct really is essential to whether they are fit to be a legislator. In that case, we had the opportunity. Yep. It was one of the first time in I think 50 years.
I'm just not sure that which misdemeanors are the basis for removing someone from office. It's a very slippery slope because the awfulness of the Montserrat crime spoke powerfully. Other members of the Senate threw hot coffee on somebody else. They didn't get thrown out. So it's a very slippery slope.
All right. Andrew mentioned the Bushes. Well, George W.'s back in a way. He says, and he has stayed in the background to be fair to him, and he will stay out of his brother's campaign, but he also said something interesting. He said part of the reason why is he'll hurt more than he'll help, not because of the mess he left behind with Iraq or the financial crisis, but simply because of his last name. We'll explain after this.